I'm Teresa, welcome to my channel. Thank you for joining me here today. If you were with me last week, you would have watched me create this selection of printed tissue papers that for collage. Used plain and patterned tissue paper in different colours, and we just had a fun session just creating some abstract, colourful sort of bits and pieces to use today in an artwork. And today this is what I have created, this lovely floral work. It's on a canvas board, so nice and easy to get hold of, inexpensive project this one is, and with the addition of literally just one or two other easy to get hold of items, we are going to turn this pile of papers into this lovely piece of art. So I'm going to move these out of the way and I'll be back to show you how it's done. As always, I'll begin with a quick rundown of the products that I'm using today. Today I'm going to be working on a canvas board. This is a 10 by 12 inch canvas board, inexpensive, picked it up from a shop called The Works here in the UK. They sell really sort of very budget price art and craft materials, as well as a lot of books and some children's games and things like that. So inexpensive canvas board. You could use a stretched canvas if you want to do that. I've got a couple of stretched canvases, but they were really big and they don't make for good video recording. They're just too big to sort of fit on the screen. So this canvas board was perfect size, so that's why I'm using that. You could do this in an art journal, you could do this onto a piece of cardboard. Really, whatever surface that you've got, if you want to have a play with collage, you can do. But yeah, canvas board's always a good, cheap, inexpensive way of creating a bit of art that you can then display on an easel or even hang on the wall. I have my pile of printed tissue papers that I made in last week's video. If you haven't watched that video, please take a look. I'll link it up in the corner and I'll also link it in the end card at the end of the video. So I've got all of those. I've got a paintbrush to apply my glue for sticking the papers down, and for in this instance I'm going to be using either a matte medium or this matte decoupage medium. This is the DecoArt Americana brand. It's exactly the same as Mod Podge, which is the sort of perhaps more familiar brand, but it basically works as a glue and it also works as a sealer, so you can sort of stick the paper down with it and then go over the top as well, and make sure that you've got no loose ends, and it's really, really good. So I'm going to be using those. I've got a jug of water just to rinse my brush out, and I've got a pair of scissors as well, because you can tear your tissue papers, and I may do some tearing from the background, but I've got some sort of smaller pieces, a little bit more detailed pieces to create my image, and I'm going to find it easier to use a pair of scissors to cut them, but by all means, if you prefer a sort of torn edge look, go for that. Now, I have begun by sketching out just a rough idea of what I want to do, and I wanted to do a floral image with these echinacea flowers, echinacea, coneflower, whatever you choose to call them. So I've just loosely sketched 3 flower heads, couple of stems just for placement on there. The nice thing about the tissue paper is if I stick some sort of background down and it overlaps it a bit, I'll still be able to see my rough guideline through that, and it'll just make things a little easier. You don't need to draw a guideline if you don't want to. If you just want to go for it, please do, but I just find sometimes for composition purposes a bit of a sketch makes things a lot easier. But this is going to be really just a nice sort of simple exercise just to show you what you can do. If you search on Pinterest or indeed anywhere on the internet and sort of look up collage art, look at collaged prints, you know, you can go as simple or as complicated as you want. And in the past, I've done simple sort of Kandinsky-inspired art work, just using circles. I did a sort of mid-century modern canvas, again, using some nice sort of abstract shapes. But some people do some fantastically detailed pictures, which requires sort of quite a lot of thought into sort of colour and shading and how you're going to use the different papers to create a very sort of detailed and not realistic, but you know, quite an in-depth sort of artwork. This I'm going to keep quite simple because I know not everybody really wants to do anything too complicated, and hopefully these are nice sort of bold flower shapes. They should look really, really good without too much effort. I may use a pen or something to add some detail or something afterwards. We'll see. I'll see what it looks like when I've got the prints down on the canvas board, and if I feel I want to add a little bit of detail with some pen, I will do so. But I'll explain that if I do come to do that. But to begin with, I'm going to have a look through my papers and choose some that I can use sort of more for the background area. Obviously, the sort of the brighter orange and pinks are going to be for the flowers, and it's a nice yellow green for the centres, and I'll find some green for the stems. But I have some that are more subtle and paler, and they'll be ones that I'll be using for the backgrounds. And that's where I'm going to begin.
We watch the sun go down over the same old town, like so many times before. We look at the same old stars, battle the same old wars, like so many times before. And I know that we're not perfect, but I'm gonna miss all that we had. Yeah, I know that we're not perfect, but I need this night for the last time. Stay, stay. No, you're gone in the morning, but I'll be okay if you stay. Stay. No, you're gone in the morning, but I'll be okay if you stay. If you stay. No, you're gone in the morning, but I'll be okay. We were never meant to last, but all the fun times we had, I'll never forget. We will always share a bond, no matter what, 'cause you have a piece of my heart. And I know that we're not perfect, but I'm gonna miss all that we had. Yeah, I know that we're not perfect, but I need this night for the last time. Stay, stay. No, you're gone in the morning, but I'll be okay if you stay. Stay. No, you're gone in the morning, but I'll be okay if you stay. Stay. If you stay. If you stay. If you stay. No, you're gone in the morning, but I'll be okay. Till the sun goes up, yeah, for a little moment. Just hold me closer, I'll be okay. Till the sun goes up, yeah, for a little moment. Just hold me closer, I'll be okay. We watch the sun go down over the same old town.
I've just trimmed round the edge, cut away the excess, and then just gone around the edge with a bit of sandpaper just to sort of smooth it flush. If you've got any little tiny bits that just want sticking down, you can go around at the end with a little bit more of the matte medium or decoupage medium and just stick them down. But for now, I'm happy with that. I always like to trim the background before I get on with the detail, just because I can see more easily what the finished item is going to look like. So now it's time to move on to the flowers, and I know on the camera you probably now can't see the outlines, but I can see the basis of where the centres of my flowers are and where the stems go, and that's more than enough for me to carry on with. So I've got rid of some of the lighter coloured pieces of tissue, kept some of these brighter ones now, and I'm going to work on the flowers. I'm going to begin with the centres of the flowers and then add the petals and the stems. I have put in a couple of these dark ones. I'm still reluctant to cut them up. I love the prints as they are, as I mentioned last week, but I'm thinking they might be quite nice for the stems, just so that they show up really well. So I'm going to get on with doing that.
You're gone new is sentimental. If this thing is making me soft, giving into my damn heart. It feels like I am losing my grip, going crazy. 'Cause this doesn't make any sense. You're broken down all my defenses. No way back to the old me. When I'm stuck here on planet X, I'll become the person I've hated. Wonder what will happen next. Yeah, I don't know why. It's like a charge around us that just feels right. Can't get my head around it. I can never hit the brakes. Every time you touch me, babe, you send me right out into space. You send me right out into space. Right into space. My head tells me to stop, but there is nothing I can do now. When I'm with you, I lose myself. I feel good. Oh, yeah, I don't know why. It's like a charge around us that just feels right. Can't get my head around it. I can never hit the brakes. Every time you touch me, babe, you send me right out into space. You send me right out into space. Right into space. Yeah, I don't know why. It's like a charge around us that just feels right. Can't get my head around it. I can never hit the brakes. Every time you touch me, babe, into space. Now that I'm looking back, I can see all the signs I tried to fill in the cracks that were spread in my mind, but I was all out of hope, lost in an endless maze. The emptiness had unfolded just like a void, but you broke the coldness somehow and lit up a flame.
Your collage like this. I really do quite like the effect, but I want to add a little more definition to the detail around the flower heads. I have a habit, I like to line things. I like things to be quite distinctive between the layers, but if you like this sort of soft effect, please feel free, that's your choice, leave it as it is. But I'm going to take a Stabilo All pencil. It's like a water soluble pencil, it goes on various surfaces, and I've just started on a couple of petals down here, just outlining the petal and then using a fine brush with some water just to soften the effect. So I'm going to do that just to, I say, add a little definition to the flower heads.
Ooh, start feeling hopeless. Screamed out loud because it felt impossible in my bones, like getting blood out of the stone on my own. But you came around and removed the thorn in my soul. You guided me out of the storm. I found home in your arms of gold.
first one done. Really, really pleased with this, and I hope that it's shown you that you don't need to be particularly artistic to create a really nice piece of collaged artwork using these printed tissue papers. And it really doesn't matter that the tissue papers themselves were individually nothing special. In amongst them, yes, there were some really nice sort of effects that we created, but on here I've used for the background some of the pieces of tissue that have very little paint indeed. I've used plain ones, I've used patterned ones, I've stuck some the right way round, some the wrong way round. But to create a background, they all worked absolutely perfectly. And then I chose this is the bright pinks and oranges for the flowers, which created a really nice contrast. Chose a nice, bold, striking design, something quite simple. And just by adding that little bit of definition around the edge and a couple of white dots in there, I think it really did bring it to life. So I'm absolutely thrilled with this. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope that if you did follow last week's video and create your own printed tissue papers, that you can go ahead and create something similar. Obviously, if you use different colours, that will affect what you may or may not choose to create today with your papers. But if you sort of follow the instructions that I've gone with here and chosen fairly subtle ones for the background and then a contrast colour for the foreground, choose between tearing, where I've torn the edges in the background, they just all sort of melt into each other, which I think is really nice. And then obviously having the cut edges for the petals, it makes them a little bit more sort of standoutish, as it were. So as always, if you enjoyed the video, please leave me a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you again soon. But for now, that's all. Bye.